Do you ever find yourself overthinking, like wondering, hey, should I do this? Shouldn't I do this? Do I need to get permission for this? Do I just take it on chance and do it myself? Maybe that's why you attracted this video. Welcome to this week's dojo topic on permission slips. I'm so happy that you're here. We meet virtually live every Tuesday. If you can't join us live, I'm so happy you found this recording so that you can see what we talked about. And of course, I invite you to join us live. Be part of the conversation. Join us and see what we're talking about with these topics, where you actually get to have these topics and then talk about it with other people who are like, yeah, this makes sense to me. I've always wondered about this, or hey, let's enjoy this. You're welcome to join us. Last week, the conversation was about where your energy goes. We talked about a three-stage method to shift from overthinking to pure preference. So if you were not able to join us live or you missed the video, I will put a link to that video at the end of this video. But today we're talking about permission slips. Be happy. You deserve it. What does all that mean? Well, last week we explored the three-stage method and began noticing something subtle but powerful. That every moment contains a question, an invitation, and a choice. The question is often quiet. The invitation is energetic. And the choice reveals who's actually in charge, awareness or conditioning. This week's topic on permission slips takes that awareness a layer deeper. When we overthink, we're usually pouring energy into why something is happening, explaining, justifying, analyzing, or trying to make sense of it. Last week, we practiced shifting out of that mental loop and into pure preference. In other words, you just say, I decided that I want X. And then that being it, right? It's just like no is a complete sentence. But how often do you find yourself saying no and then feeling like you need to explain yourself? And usually we end up like telling what we call little white lies. Oh, I didn't want to hurt his or her feelings, so I just made up a story and said X, Y, and Z. Well, see, that's just it, right? When we're explaining ourselves, when we're justifying, then we are taking the power away from us and giving it to someone else. So when you're in pure preference, in other words, you state your preference because that's what you want, you're simply stating what you want without attaching stories, being defensive, or creating emotional labor. Permission slips reveal why that shift can feel uncomfortable or even unsafe. Many of us are unconsciously operating from old agreements that say, I need a reason to want what I want. I have to explain myself in order to be worthy. My preference must be justified to be valid. Those are permission slips. Like, if maybe you're talking to a friend and you're saying, I'm not so happy with my job anymore. I've decided that I am going to leave this job and work for myself. And they might be giving you all kinds of reasons why, oh my gosh, you shouldn't do that. And really, are you listening to what that other person's saying? Yes, maybe their opinion is valid, their thoughts are valid, and it gives you something to weigh, like pros and cons. But as long as you're doing it from a place of ownership, like, no, I really feel powerful about this. I really feel like I'm looking at it for all the most powerful reasons, rather than being made to feel like you're being bullied or you shouldn't do that or you don't have a right to think what you want to think. So, when that old rule steps in and says, wait, are you allowed to choose that? This is where those teachings from last week and this week come together. This is where they meet. The three-stage method helps you recognize the moment of choice. Permission slips explain what's influencing you behind the scenes. When you bring awareness to the permission slip, you stop leaking energy by overthinking or self-explanation. You become more grounded because you're no longer negotiating with invisible rules. Because the rules, they are invisible, right? Who makes up the rules? Do you ever ask yourself, well, who made up that rule? Why do I still believe I have to follow that rule? You become more confident because your choices are no longer outsourced to approval, fear, or even habit. And you become energetically freer because your preference doesn't need permission. It only needs awareness. You simply need to be aware of your preference. I'd like to choose this over that. Just like last week we talked, right? Would you like the chicken or the fish? It's just a simple answer, unless you feel like you have to give a whole explanation about why you're choosing one over the other. This isn't about changing how you choose. It's about seeing why you choose the way you do. So choice becomes clean, calm, and truly yours. Life is all about choices. Awareness is how you choose consciously. Awareness means effortless, not fixing, not forcing, or changing yourself. Let's look at the invisible permission slips that influences your choices every single day. Let's think about this. A permission slip is an unconscious agreement that guides your behavior. It's an internal rule that you live by. You didn't consciously choose most of them. They were absorbed through experiences, conditioning, and sometimes often survival. Permission slips are not bad. At one time, they probably protected you. These agreements were created to keep you safe, loved, or accepted. We're not here to judge them, only to understand them. So most permission slips were written early in life, before you had adult awareness or choice. So, like when you told yourself, it's okay, I need to not speak until I'm spoken to. That's a permission slip, right? You learn that somewhere. Or I need to make sure that I don't try to monopolize a conversation. That's a permission slip, right? You learn that somewhere. When permission slips are unconscious, they run your life on autopilot. So if you think about that same example, I shouldn't speak unless I'm spoken to, until someone else addresses me. Now, that is a belief that you've created and it's running on autopilot in the back of your head. You're less likely to speak up. You're less likely to make your preferences known. You're less likely to believe that you even have something worthy to say. The choices are the same. It's just that the experiences are different. So you may not catch it because you may not realize that it's actually a habit. It's a pattern that keeps showing up. But you just see different experiences and you're wondering, like, why isn't my life the way that I want it to be? Awareness is the disruptor because seeing the rule changes the rule. You don't need to rip up your permission slips. Seeing them loosens their hold over you. Your body will always reveal your permission slips. Tightness, hesitation, over-explaining, these are clues. The body never lies. Remember, emotions are energy in motion. The body always knows. So when the body is expressing discomfort, you can be sure that a permission slip is involved. And if you want any kind of proof with that, just think about all the NLP teachings. They're teaching you that you can actually say something negative, and it's muscle testing. It's muscle testing because the body knows. So when there is discomfort, you can be sure that there's a permission slip involved in there somewhere. Outdated permission slips quietly drain your life. They just drain the life force within you and the creativity in the form of energy leaks and self-betrayal. You don't speak up for yourself. You don't say what you really want. You don't allow yourself to be who you want to be. So here is a really powerful question that you can ask yourself. When the body gets involved, when you're feeling discomfort, ask yourself, who is feeling this discomfort? Because when you ask that question that way, remember, we've talked about this before in past sessions and discussions. When you refrain from using the word I, me, mine, my, now you're taking it from not, duality to non-duality, and it shifts you. This question gently shifts you away from the mind to awareness, and it dismantles unconscious authority because you're asking from non-duality. Instead of saying, I'm feeling sick, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling tired, I'm feeling like nobody cares about me. See, you're making it very personal, and none of that is true. So that's duality of the mind. But when you say, who's feeling this? Who's thinking this? It's like your mind goes, huh? It's like it's busted, you know, like, uh-oh, you're catching on. Most beliefs are rooted in worth, and many choices come back to one question. Am I worthy of ease, happiness, love, or more? You don't need to push, affirm, or convince yourself. Awareness is enough. Simply awareness, effortless awareness. When you ask that question, who's thinking this? You're giving yourself that effortless being, that state of being, that calm, that peace. Now, until now, we've been talking about permission slips that limit us, the ones rooted in fear, survival, and old beliefs. From here, we're going to shift, not by forcing, not by forcing positivity, but by consciously choosing new permission slips. Awareness gives us that authority. So I've listed just a couple positive permission slips. You know, you might want to create your own. Like, I give myself permission to, and whatever comes up for you, think about it. And when you can create a pretty long list, you start realizing all the things you were denying yourself. You're like, hey, from now on, I'm going to give myself permission to be happy. I'm going to give myself permission to make more money than I ever dreamed possible. I'm going to give myself permission to have healthy relationships. This is where choice becomes embodied. You feel it throughout the body. Happiness isn't earned, it's allowed. You don't inspire by proving, you inspire by permitting yourself to be seen. When you operate from a high vibrational frequency, you don't chase alignment, it meets you. Others can only be part of your reality by rising to it. This isn't exclusion, it's energetic integrity. Think about it. You've heard the phrase, right? When you are having a business, doing something you love, it's never work. And you know this. You're doing something you love, you can do it for hours and hours and hours, and it just seems like, oh my gosh, totally lost track of time because I'm enjoying myself so much. It's not work. It's creative expression. At this level, effort dissolves. What you create flows from inspiration, not obligation. This is what happens when permission slips no longer restrict your joy or your expression. Unhappy thoughts, feelings, and emotions are not failures. They are invitations, reminders to raise your vibration, return to awareness, and choose again. These invitations are no different than a reminder you set in your calendar. They're meant to be helpful, effortless, and create ease in your life. So if you feel an invitation of discomfort or overwhelm, instead of beating yourself up and saying, oh my gosh, I've been working so hard, or oh my gosh, I just can't figure this out, instead, see it as an invitation. Do you want to keep doing this? Do you want to keep choosing this? You have more power than you ever give yourself credit for. But when we have been raised and gotten in a pattern or a habit of continually giving our power away, we forget that we have choice. We have power. As your frequency rises, your reality becomes refined. Fewer distractions, deeper connections. This is not about ego. It's about honoring your energy. Be the woman who grants permission now. Your past no longer gets a vote. Life responds to the frequency you choose to live from now, right now. The only time is right now. Be the woman who gives herself permission to inspire others instead of allowing your past to create self-doubt. Be the woman who bends instead of breaks. Be the woman who manifests more money than she ever thought possible. Be the woman who manifests from such a high vibrational frequency that others can only be part of her reality by raising their own vibrational frequency. Be the woman who is happy. You deserve it. Now, again, here are some questions. If you're one to journal or reflect on this information, pause the video, take a look at the questions. I'm not going to read them, but go over this. See if any of them are something that you can shift gears, so to speak. This is for you. Now, how did all of that information land on you? Can you see where you're giving your power away, where your permission slips are positive or negative? Do you see this? If you want any kind of support with this type of work, visit me at masteringyourbeliefs.com. In the meantime, this is Nancy Muller, the one and only Life Sensei, saying ciao for now.